Sometimes people ask me if Bitcoin and Ethereum are like Coke and Pepsi, or like an apple and an orange. And sometimes I joke that it's like an orange and a computer, but it's actually more like a non-graphing calculator and a computer.
Bitcoin and Ethereum are both expressions of units of value that sit on top of a blockchain, and that chain of information that records basically who owns what when. You can think of it as sort of as Bitcoin today is a little bit like DOS on an x86, and Ethereum is a little bit like a Mac in 1984. It's a little easier to work with. Developers have flocked to it because it's easy to work with, but you have a giant, massive community of people in the open source part of Bitcoin that's a little bit like the PC. So they're both going to exist. The PC and the Mac both had great futures ahead of them.
You can think of Bitcoin like a calculator. It's very good at moving numbers from here to there. How much Bitcoin do you have? How much Bitcoin do I have? If I've spent some Bitcoin. And when we think of Ethereum, you can think of it like a 3D Excel spreadsheet. It can still do what a calculator does. It can still move numbers from here to there. But you can go into an Excel spreadsheet and you can make some of the cells pink, and you can make them in bold, and you can add formulas. So it's like a programmable calculator.
The Bitcoin network is essentially the world's largest supercomputer. It's millions of computers around the world that use a protocol to do basically one thing and one thing only, and that's verify that a transaction from me to you is real and not fake. And it's an amalgamation of a number of different technologies that existed before but were put together in a brand new way. Ethereum is essentially the same thing, but instead of having the world's largest supercomputer, this giant cloud of computers that work together to verify transactions and have that be the only thing it can do, Vitalik Buterin, the creator, said, well, we can abstract that and allow it to do any number of things. And you can tell it what to do via a programming language. They're both networks of computers that know how to do something. In Bitcoin, it's verify transactions. In Ethereum, it is run a computer language to do any number of things that you might tell it to do.
Bitcoin was the first blockchain system, and it is it has a currency associated with it. It's a proof of work based network, and it has a scripting system that did a lot for when it was built, but it's quite limited in what it can do on purpose. And Ethereum is like a next generation blockchain on top of that. It's a system and project that was developed by learning through a lot of what Bitcoin did well and what it did poorly. And it's kind of like, you can think of it kind of like a V2, a much more improved system in a bunch of directions. Now, there's certain things that Bitcoin has that Ethereum doesn't. Like, I think Bitcoin has broader and greater adoption for now, but Ethereum is growing super fast, and that may not be the case for much longer. And certainly for when you look at it from an application perspective, Ethereum is way more powerful and versatile, and you can use it for constructing many new kinds of things. Certainly any groups that want to issue any kind of digital asset, it is much easier to do so on top of Ethereum.